So let me say thank you for this opportunity to be able to moderate the English program today, which relates with the Khmer New Year as we are approaching to the day 3 or the last day of the Cambodian New Year. It is such an auspicious occasion for all Cambodians across the globe who have been celebrating Khmer New Year for these few days. And first of all, I would like to take this opportunity to pay my homage to the Triple Gem, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And again, I would like to pay respect to Most Venerable Athimani Mangsang, Pre-Athimani Mangsang, the president of the Cambodian Buddhist Monk Society in USA, who currently resides or the abbot of Minnesota Monastery in the state of Minnesota, USA. And again, I would like to pay respect to Most Venerable Praisaran, who is in Georgia, Venerable Pasopal, who is in Massachusetts, and Venerable Sitong from Texas, and all venerable monks from different states, and those who are watching us as well. Would like to pay respect and say greeting to every Khmer people around the globe who happen to watch this. So as today we are conducting the Khmer New Year for the day 3 or the final day, because we celebrated, traditionally we celebrated for 3 days. So for the last 2 days, the English program also have been conducted, and the speakers have delivered a lot of information containing with the Khmer New Year, about the meaning, about the purpose of the Khmer New Year, the benefit and the activities that exist in each and every day of the New Year. So again, for the last day, I would like to create some question for our speakers joining with us. It is a great honor for all of us today. I have invited Venerable Kasapa Khon who currently resides in the Vipassana Turya Buddhist Center of the Kingdom of Cambodia, and Venerable is also the lecturers, also the meditation trainer in Phnom Penh, Cambodia right now. And again, also I have invited Sister Jenny, who is also currently reside in Seattle, and she is the first generation of Cambodian American who was born and raised in Seattle. And hopefully we can learn a lot from both of the speakers, especially Sister Jenny, who was born here. And so we could learn, I think we can learn a lot from you as a Cambodian American who grows up and witnessed the celebration of Khmer New Year in America, especially in the state of Washington. And without further ado, I would like to, because we have around 30 to 40 minutes for this English program. So I hope that within this very short period of time, we could make the best use of our time to cover as much as possible in English version, in the hope that this information can be helpful to our younger generation to be able to understand about the Khmer culture, especially the traditional, the rituals, practices that contain in the Khmer New Year itself. Like today is the 3rd day or the last day of Khmer New Year. One of the most important activity in the 3rd day is about basing the Buddha statue, as most venerable speakers here have been mentioning about the Pithi Sarang Preh, or basing the Buddha statues. And some people also, they do basing their elders, their parents, their grandparents. So it would have some lesson learn from that activity. Anyway, without further ado, I would like to start the first question with Sister Jenny. Welcome, Sister Jenny, to the show. And I would like to ask you to introduce about Khmer New Year. And of course, we have been talking a lot about what Khmer New Year is, but for myself, and I believe that our Cambodian monks also would like to learn, because a lot of foreigners will come to the temple and they ask, what is Khmer New Year? So what would you explain to the foreigner about what Khmer New Year is as a Cambodian American? Yes.
Hi, thank you for inviting me to this discussion. I want to give my respect and homage to the Triple Gem, the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And again, thank you for involving me in this discussion today. On a general term, when I explain Cambodian New Year to foreigners or people who are unfamiliar with it, I usually just kind of describe that, in Cambodia, April happens to be the hottest month of the year and happens to be towards the end of the harvest season. And so many lay people are kind of able to relax after a hard season of tilling the farm and harvesting. And so it's an opportunity for us uh, to celebrate and also an opportunity for us to go visit the temple because our day-to-day lives are so busy that oftentimes we forget to do the basic practice of generosity. And so we get the opportunity while we are not working to go to the temple to build merit and collect merit for ourselves and for our elders and for our ancestors. We do that by offering alms to the monks and also donating to the temple, monetary or gift wise. And so that's kind of on general terms, that's kind of how I explain it to foreigners. Then there's also the Buddhism aspect that I'm still actually kind of learning about as well. Um, and so there is a correlation because it's not just Khmer New Year's. We know that in Thai and Laos and in Sri Lanka and Burma and Malaysia, they all celebrate New Year's around this time too. And the thing that connects it is Buddhism. But I would rather have a monk speak on that aspect of Cambodian New Year.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for sharing from your perspective as a layperson and as a Cambodian American who was born here. How you explained to foreigner was very interesting. And I believe that sometimes for us as a monk, we always, when we are introducing about Khmer New Year, I myself always think about the Khmer language, what I have read from the Khmer books, from the Khmer text, but what you have introduced just right now is like a little bit different from what I have ever used, so it's a good thing to learn something new from foreigner like yourself. You actually a Cambodian American, but because you're born and raised here, so you consider as one of the native speaker that we can learn a lot from you. Thank you so much for that. And let me turn back to Honorable Kaspar Hun Camera. What about you? How can you introduce about Khmer New Year? And as you have been living in Sri Lanka for around 20 years, and Sri Lanka itself also celebrated the New Year, which is, happen at the same time with Cambodia. So how would you explain Sri Lankan people about Khmer New Year? Your minute.
Thank you, Honorable Sir, and let me pay my homage to the Triple Gem and dear Honorable Sirs, the President of Cambodian Buddhist Monk Society, and our friends in Dhamma around the globe, and especially Cambodian devotees who are living in the United States. Well, it's a broad subject, to be honest, to express in one sentence, but if I would have a chance to tell Sri Lankan devotees or Sri Lankans about Khmer New Year, I would say that it is a unification of religious, cultural, traditional elements, or I would say that it kinds of practices unify the three elements together, and to show the world that during Khmer New Year we not just practice Buddhism, but we practice we respect our traditions, and in terms of culture that we have been hand over that by our ancestors. So another term I would say that this is the unique Khmer identity. This is our national day, and I would say that it is a spiritual transition. It is a spiritual transformation, or we would say that it is a spiritual innovation, that whatever we have done in the past, we will change it, or we will further cultivate it to some extent for a better life. So This is, I would say, to Sri Lankan devotees, especially the foreigners. That's all from me, Venerable Sir.
Thank you so much for sharing how you introduced the Khmer New Year to the foreigners. So you talk about the cultural, the spiritual transition. It's not just transitioning the time, as we aware that New Year is like the transitioning between the old and the New Year. And of course, today is the third day, the day which transition from the old year to the New Year. So the New Year starts today. As a matter of fact, the monk has been talking about the Sakaraj has been transitioned today, you know, from Tosa to Traisa today. So, of course, as you have pointed out about the spiritual transition during each and every New Year, something could be transition, something could be transformed from bad to good, from, you know, suffering to happiness, and so on. And again, as we observe in the activities during the Khmer New Year's, and I would like to turn that to Jenny, because you have been, you know, coming to practice the rites and ritual during the Khmer New Year at the temple. What have you observed about some activity that you think is like interesting to you? You know, we have like people gathering to the temple, they listening to the Dharma talk, they're listening to the monks doing the chanting, you know, they cook the food and take it to the temple, offer to the monks. They do the rob bath, you know, like offering alms to the monks both, and then they also offer the donation, everything that they bring to the temple, paying homage to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, observing moral precepts, practicing, you know, meditation, and so on. What is the most favorite part, or what is the most, you know, like interesting activity for you during the Khmer New Year?
Yeah, I think one of the most fun and interesting part of Khmer New Year's, you know, Cambodian New Year's in America is also a time for us Cambodian people to really get together and to learn about our culture, to witness our own culture. And so, of course, there's the being able to witness Robam, like all of the classical dances, and, you know, the drummers, the chai yam is really fun as well too. And also just being able to come together and play some traditional games and whatnot. But as far as like the Buddhism aspect goes, I really enjoy after the monks eat, the lay people all get together and we share a meal. Of course, this is before COVID, but that was probably my favorite, just because we're all enjoying our efforts that we put together. You know, most of everyone have brought food to the temple to share, to offer the monks. And then afterwards, we get to share in that experience as well. And, you know, a lot of the times you're sitting with another family and you're just getting to know. And, you know, I think maybe people in Cambodia kind of take for granted that you're always surrounded by Khmer people all the time. And for us growing up in America, that's not the case. The only time we're around Cambodian people is when we go to the temple, and that's every once in a while. And so it just feels so good to be able to go to a place where everyone kind of knows what's happening. You know, everyone's eating the same food. Everyone is just enjoying each other's language and seeing the old aunties and uncles and the, you know, the family friends that you haven't seen in a while. So it's an opportunity for us just to come together and just enjoy each other's company. Another favorite activity of mine is the last day, the Songkran, I think is what it's called, where we do the water blessing ceremony. And I love being able to not only bless the statues of the monk, but also bless the elders as well. At the temple, at the South Park Temple, we had all the elders lined up or sitting next to each other, and then all of the youth comes and we sprinkle water into their hands, and we're doing well wishes and just wishing prosperity, happiness, and long life to each other. And then it's such a joy to witness, because these elders, they look like little children too when they when they come out of the room, and they're also blessing us. And the next thing you know, we're all just having fun, having a water fight, you know. And it's again, that's just it's so endearing to witness, because I don't really get to see that. I'm not sure of any other cultures that have such a strong connection between or not a strong connection, but a strong ritual of respecting elders. And so that is really unique to see, and also very joyful and endearing too. So that's my two favorite things, is just sitting, catching up with old friends, and being around other Khmer people, and also the water fight at the end of the celebration.
That is very impressive, what you have mentioned. I think that is a good, like, we can say it's a unique point about Khmer New Year celebration. Sometimes we cannot find this in any other, practices, traditional practices, but the activity, like, the way we pay respect to our elders, the way we get connected, with our ancestors, with our elders, get surrounded by the younger generation, paying respect to the elders, and do the wishing by, placing holy water on the hands and the monks' hands as well. So we'll come to that in a moment. But I'm interested about when you talk about the part where you interested is about, people get together, enjoy the meal together after the monks. What is your favorite Khmer food, by the way? Because in Khmer New Year, people are cooking, traditional food and bring to the temple. Also, can you count some Khmer traditional food as well as you know? And what is the most favorite food, Khmer food for you?
For me, my favorite Khmer food involves anything that has like a hint of bahok, and of course grung in there. So cha grung, bahok ti is one of my favorites. It's one of my son's favorite. My husband, who was white American, he loves chamasua. He loves any it's like anytime. Okay. Yeah, chamasua is his favorite. Of course, anything with curry. I mean, I love Khmer food, and I know that every time I go to the temple, I know the elders are cooking it, so we're getting authentic Khmer food. And I mean, that's probably why it's one of my favorites too, just because I don't cook Khmer food at home very often, and when I do, it just doesn't taste as good as mom's, right? And so going there, and I know that a lot of the elders, they put a lot of effort into the food, and so that you're going to be getting really good authentic Khmer food.
Yeah, that's great about it. I have some foreign friends who study with me at the college. When I introduce about Khmer New Year to them, they say, what is the special thing about Khmer New Year? I said, if you don't like about the religious practices, maybe you like about the food, because there are a lot of different kinds of food, they bring to the temple. So once they come and join us and they enjoy the food, I think that is one of the best way to promote our Khmer New Year to foreigners, to the world, right? So we'll come to that question later. And thank you for, raising about some unique activity we have in the Khmer New Year. So let me move back to Venerable Kassapa. What is your philosophy about the Piti Sarang Preh, or the way we base the Buddha statues, and also the way we pay respect to our elders, our parents, by placing holy water or basing them with perfume water, like Jenny was just saying? What is your idea concerning about it? Is it a good way to interact between the younger generation and with the elder generation?
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Sir. And it is also one of my most favorite activity, because it manifests a lot of things in Buddhism, in our culture. And as you mentioned, I have been in Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka is celebrating their New Year on the same day. So, but tomorrow is the final day, as to the best of my knowledge. They have kinds of, in English we call it Nanu Mangala, it's kinds of bathing, but they don't really having bath. They use the holy oil and to do the blessing, and the monks and the people line up and following each other to get the blessing from the monks or from the elders. They use the holy oil and to do the blessing. But the uniqueness of our culture, as Sister Jenny mentioned, that exactly brilliant. And I mean, before I'm going to dissect the philosophy behind that, I would say that this is a uniqueness of our culture, that we have a chance even once a year to express our gratitude, to express our respect, and even to say sorry to the monks, to the elders, what we have been done throughout the year. So it's a chance for everyone to express, their spiritual power. That's, as I mentioned, the forgiveness, respectfulness, gratitude to everyone. And from Buddhist perspective, it is exactly spot on and accurate, because you know that there are 10 basis of meritorious deeds. One is apajayana, it means that respectfulness. And when you do respecting to someone, you must be motivated by loving kindness. This is what the Buddha wants us to understand. And as Sister Yanin said, that it is very unique because we connect everything together: Buddhism, culture, society, food. So before we do the bathing to the elders or to the monks, we must start from the Buddha, and he is our spiritual father, he is our spiritual master, he is our spiritual teacher. So we cultivate that respectfulness from bottom of our heart with loving kindness to the Buddha, and then ranging from the Buddha, we go to the monk and the elders. So the philosophy behind this is we have the opportunity to cultivate our spirituality. That is why I call it a spiritual transition, a spiritual transformation, that we have a chance to cultivate our respect to the Buddha. And by using the water, what we are trying to do is, and I listened to the Khmer talk delivered by a monk, that yes, the body of the Buddha is not touched by even the dust, or he doesn't experience the dirtiness, physically. But what we are doing is we express our gratitude, we express our respectfulness, that we have everything. We enjoy the spirituality, we enjoy, as Sister Yuni said, sharing is caring. We share, generosity, everything we learn from the Buddha, everything in our life. We learn how to forgive, we learn how to respect the elders, we learn how to share, we learn how to practice generosity because of the Buddha. That is why, in order to get the blessing, we must get from him. That is why we practicing bathing ceremony. So let me wrap up. What I want to say to our young generation is, it is a very unique practice in our culture. We have a chance to respect to the Buddha, we have a chance to respect to the monks, we have a chance to respect the elders. And in return, this is the question that has been raised by our generation, that what will benefit for us from kinds of rites or rituals. To be honest, when your heart is touched, when your heart is touched by loving kindness, when your heart is touched by respectfulness, this is the greatest benefit you are gaining. So don't talking about the next birth, don't talking, in terms of deep philosophy. When your heart is moved, when your heart is touched to respect the elders, and when your heart is refreshed by forgiveness, when your heart is refreshed by seeking apologies, this is the great benefit of these kinds of ceremony. So that's all from me, Venerable Sir.
Thank you so much for sharing about the meaning and also the benefit, the philosophy behind how we do the basing of the Buddha statues, and also the monks and the elder. It has a hidden amazing philosophy behind it, at least to explain people that we have to pay our respect to our benefactors, like the Buddha, who is our spiritual father, and also our elders who have given us the birth, the life to exist in this world. So once a year, why not we base our living gods? The Buddha is already passed away, but the way we do it, just a kind of expression to be grateful for what the Buddha has bestowed for us. And again, it's a good unity among Khmer people. As a younger generation, we can get together with our elders and doing something in respect to them. So let me move back to Sister Jenny, because you have been born in here and growing up in Seattle. I just would like to know how well known the Khmer New Year is to our Khmer Americans, especially in Washington State, or if you could share, just from your personal perspective, how do you think about the popularity about Khmer New Year to the foreigners or to the Khmer Americans?
Yeah, I think for Khmer Americans, it's probably one of the best things, the best celebration of the year. It's the only time of the year that we really truly connect with our community and our culture and our traditions and rituals, something that you don't experience every day. And so, one sec. And for foreigners, I think that it's an opportunity to learn something new, right? Cambodian culture is so different from Western society that I think that Western or, foreigners just have a unique, or not a unique, but a deep interest in why we do what we do. But for a lot of Khmer Americans, especially the younger generation, we kind of just go with the flow, right? When I was younger, I kind of just went with my mom and dad. And I always stood right next to my mom's side as she's doing, Bukit Lok and doing the alms. And so I kind of grew up not knowing why we do what we do. I just know that it's something that we do. Like that's what makes us Khmer. We just do it. And anytime when I was younger, I would ask, like, why do we do this? A lot of the times, a lot of the answers were, at least the people around me, it was kind of just like, oh, it's because it's always been done this way. And it's very difficult to explain it. Unfortunately, I have dealt with language barrier. And so even if I did have the opportunity to learn from somebody about why we do it, it's difficult to comprehend what they're telling me, and so there's this, I think, as a first generation, I think many of us who are in our 30s and 40s and having young children, we're starting to realize, wow, we're kind of disconnected from our culture and tradition, mostly because, we don't live it in our day-to-day lives. We're so busy with everything else and assimilating to Western culture and things like that. And so there's this deep interest within the first and second generation Khmer Americans to really connect with their culture at all costs. It doesn't matter how we absorb it, whether it's through YouTube, whether it's Facebook and connecting with other Khmer people all around the country. We're doing everything possible just to reconnect with that roots, and we're starting to see the benefits of it too. I think that growing up as a young child, you always think, what's the point of all this? We live in America. Why do we need to do all of this stuff for? And there's kind of a frustration because of the lack of communication, being able to fully communicate all of that. But with time, I think people are starting to pick up, it's almost kind of when you're younger, you don't understand your parents, but when you become a parent yourself, you suddenly understand some of the things that they taught us, right? And so it's finally sinking in with our generation that oh, I can see why it's so important. And now we're making that effort. Some of us are enrolling our children in Khmer dance classes and Khmer language. That I bring my children to the temple too, just for them to kind of experience it and in any way that we can. But yeah, Khmer New Year is the biggest celebration. It's mostly because it's really fun too, because we get to see our traditions, our culture alive. But like I said, with foreigners, I think it's something unique. You can learn something new every day, and there are many people out there that want to learn about the Dhamma, want to learn about Cambodian history, but we have to remember that we're still technically a small population throughout the country too. And so many people don't get exposed to Cambodian people here in America, unless you live in, Lowell or Seattle or Long Beach. But for many people in America, they don't know anything about Cambodian people in our history, and this is an opportunity for them to learn, especially if they have like a Cambodian coworker, a Cambodian neighbor, or a Cambodian, friend. You could, if you're that Cambodian friend or neighbor, invite your friends over and just enjoy the moment with us too.
Yeah, so you have been talking about some, barriers and some challenges going to the temple as a Khmer American. Sometimes the language could be difficult for them to understand what they do, So what is your suggestion to make improvement? I mean, from, the personal perspective from you as a layperson, it could be, we as a monk, we could learn something, sometimes we have been organizing a lot of ceremony, but sometimes we cannot see our own mistake or our own shortcoming, something we lack of. So maybe as a attendant, as a lay person who attend the temple to practice the ceremony, what is something you think we should have done it better, for the sake of understanding our culture and Dharma?
Yeah, I think one thing that I would like to suggest is growing up, our elders kind of like tells us that there's a respectful way to speak to the monk, and you have to do it in this way. You have to use these terms gana, and you have to say twai bong gom and all of this stuff. And as a young person, you don't know why, so it doesn't make any sense. And then it feels weird because you don't do it every day. It's not a common practice. And so it ends up being really uncomfortable for a lot of people to go to the temple, because they're just like, man, any wrong move I make, like somebody's going to scold me, somebody's going to tell me I'm bad. So I'd rather just go and, be in the background and not participate. And I think that what would help with that is having the monks just kind of go out there and talk with people. I don't know if there's any type of rules where monks can't kind of go out in the crowd, but maybe there's an opportunity to be able to interact with the young children, the teenagers, just random people throughout the community, because I learned from other forms of Buddhism, that like it's okay to talk to a monk the way that you normally talk to them. And to me, it's still a little uncomfortable, but I'm getting used to it. For Khmer people, there's so many different ways to refer to a monk, like Baong, there's Nekun, there's Lok Macha, and all of that, and all of it gets confusing. So I just use the term Bante because it's a little, I don't know, just easier and easier for me to remember.
That's international. Yeah, it's a Pali language used in Buddhist term.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And so again, that's just something that I learned, and I'm still kind of undoing that uncomfortableness as well, so that I can feel more at ease when I'm at the temple and feel more at ease when I'm speaking to a monk. Other than that, without that, it just feels very intimidating. And I think that's a lot of the reasons why maybe some of us, we go to the temple, but we don't interact because we're so fearful, like that we're going to do something wrong.
Yeah, thank you. I have been observing that, as the Khmer New Year is being celebrated every day at our temple, and I observe that a lot of people are coming to the temple, not just the younger generation who do not really understand what they do, but also some elder also, they just do it traditionally. That's why I think we need a lot of explanation. We need a lot of time to, contribute the information about what we do and what we want them to do, besides just leading them to do this and do that without giving the ideas or, revealing the wisdom behind it. So let me move to Venerable Kassapa. Maybe he has some methods, if we want Khmer New Year to be well known in the world, just like Chinese New Year. Everybody knows Chinese New Year, but how many people knows about Khmer New Year, even among Khmer people, especially Khmer who born in foreign countries like America? And even though they know, they just, like rumors, hearsay from one another, just, okay, it's a new year, go to the temple. But besides that, they don't know anything about why they do the robot, why they do the listening to the monk, why they have to pay respect to the monk. Sometimes they have, you know, mirrors in there, because some Cambodian American here, they don't practice Buddhism. Some they respect in, you know, Christianity or other religion, or some they are non-religious. But when we ask them, our elders ask them to, okay, raise your hand and some like pay respect to the monk. So it's kind of like, you know, some they think it goes against their religious practices. That's why they cannot do it conveniently. So I think this should be taken into consideration for our temple. We should think about you know, this principle of other religious people who also come to join the Khmer New Year. So what is your best way to promote you know, Khmer New Year to the people, Venerable?
Yeah, thank you, Venerable sir. As you raised that our Khmer New Year is not as popular as Chinese New Year, yeah, I strongly agree. So that, but we must, it must start from us. So the mistakes I have been witnesses is not everyone. Some elders, they don't create a space for the young generation to come. I mean, for me, just let them come and let us correct them later. That is my suggestion. Let them come, let them do whatever they want, and just correct them later. So this is the responsibility of our elders. And the second responsibility is from monks, and not every monk, but I want to say that we are lacking kinds of explanation, especially monks. Sometimes the way they express, the way they explain is not that logical, it's not that philosophical, and cannot be absorbed by the young generation. So because this is where we are getting stuck to promote our culture. So from my understanding, education, like right understanding is very important. So to have the right understanding, we need a right explanation. This is my point. So we have to create a space for young generation to understand our culture of, I mean, besides the rituals and religious activities, I would suggest that monks, you can reserve 1 or 2 hours for young generation to ask you the question. Or on the other hand, you can invite some guest speakers to share the core philosophy of our Khmer New Year. Then this would be beneficial from my understanding. And as Sister Janet said, that everyone is, you know, interested in food, so we can share that when we talking about generosity, so the practice must come from the monk. So whoever come to the temple, I mean, outsiders can be from other religion, from other culture, but the uniqueness of every culture is generosity. Sharing is caring. So food is the most important kinds of, how to say that, how to use the word, that absorption or interact. Yes, we can say interact the people to our community, to understand our community, because people are you know, are interested in food. So, and as Sister Janice, you know, there is not something wrong with the rule for the monk to talk with the devotees. No, we are allowed to talk, we are allowed to interact, but as long as you don't do any kinds of breaking the rules, talking is allowed. So we must little bit be close to the young generation, and because they will be our, you know, next generation to carry on, to protect, to conserve these rites and rituals. If they don't have kinds of understanding of Khmer New Year, it's really tough to promote our Khmer New Year, because the Khmer New Year will be restricted within the Khmer generation, Khmer population, and Sister Jenny said that you don't have a chance to interact with the Khmer people. We interact with the Khmer people during the New Year or going to the temple. So this is the best chance for us when we are with when our Khmer generation are associating with the foreigners in the United States. So when they have a right understanding, they will share our culture to everyone. So this is the way we can promote it. So from my understanding, let them do, let them come. We will explain them later. So they
Thank you.
are, yeah, that's all from me. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And there's a lot of things you raised about the way we can promote the Khmer New Year, to be well known to our, at least Khmer who born in foreign countries like America. So it is the duty, responsibility of us as Buddhist monk, as the organizer, manager of the temple. We should have, as you mentioned, arrange, give the floors to our younger generation to interact and be able to ask, question. We open the floor for Q&A. During the New Year, at least, create for, like a platform of 1 hour, 2 hours, so people can come and ask questions about what is Khmer New Year, why did we do celebrate it, what does this mean, why we do this and do that, what's the benefit of that. Okay, Sister Jenny, you have any other ways to promote Khmer culture to our, Cambodian Americans or foreigners?
Yeah, I think Monte Kasapa kind of hit the nail on the, it starts with us first. And, there's so much suffering in the world that when you see people or a group of people celebrating and being in a joyous occasion, sharing, and just celebrating one another, people will take an interest in that. And they want to know, wow, like, I feel like one of the most admirable thing about our culture and our history is that despite the conflicts that we've been involved in, we've been able to pick ourselves up and still manage to celebrate ourselves. Sure, it has taken time, but it's finally here. And I think that is a story that many people from all walks of life would be interested in. But it starts with us, right? We have to enjoy it. We have to celebrate it. We have to understand it. So that we can better promote it to people outside of our community. In a technical term, or in technical aspect, one of the ways that we can better promote Khmer New Year also is, inviting important community members, like our local politicians, city councils, board of directors for your school, maybe the principal of your local elementary school or, middle or high school. Invite them to come in and witness it for themselves. You can also, if you're a very well-connected person, maybe invite the local media, maybe invite somebody who writes for the newspaper, and do a story on this particular moment, this particular celebration. I think that's one of the best ways to promote it is, for us, my people, just keep doing what we do and get together, celebrate. But, take the effort to learn why we do these things, but yeah, begin to invite folks, tell our stories to people, to our friends that are not part of our community. It's an opportunity for us to learn about our own stories and history. And when we learn about those things, it empowers us as well. And it makes us even more proud to share ourselves with the outer community. I apologize for my son crying there.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing a lot of good ways we can engage with the local authorities around the place where we live, so that we can promote the Khmer New Year through those platforms, like the school, as you mentioned. I'm very interesting about the school. Most of the monks here attend the school. Why not we invite our friends from the school to join? Okay, as we're running out of time, I would like to give the last question to Brother Kasapa. Yesterday, the monk has been talking a lot already about the blessing, and I just would like to talk a little bit about that because as we wrap up the Khmer New Year today, the last day of the Khmer New Year, we would like to know the benefits of celebrating the Khmer New Year. Some religious as well as the Buddhist practices that we have been done through generosity, donation, offering, meditation, observing moral precepts, paying respect to our elders and the grateful ones, so and so. What are the benefits that we can get from that? And with that, is that the way to gain blessing in your idea? What is like the way that we can gain the New Year blessing?
Yeah, thank you, Venerable Sir. So, as I mentioned earlier, the entire process of Khmer New Year, in terms of forming different rites or rituals, is the way to gain the blessing. Let me bring your attention to the one discourse. Buddha said in Adhamika Sutta, like very briefly, so when the human beings are disciplined, okay, the entire cosmology will proceed on course. Then later on come to the season, come to the day, come to the year, and then it goes to the divine beings. So the divine beings will be happy. When the divine beings are happy, are not upset, the rain will fall in season. So when the rain falls in season, the crops will be healthy, will be good. So we people who eat the crops will be long-lived, strong, beautiful, and healthy. So what I want to say here is, as I mentioned earlier, the entire process of performing the Khmer New Year rituals is the way to gain the blessing. So it kind of interconnected with spirituality, with cosmology, and with divine being. So that is why we are advised, we have been recommended to do generosity, to pay homage to the monks, to having the bathing ceremony, and so on. So all wholesomeness or those meritorious deeds are the way to gain a blessing, because it purifies our mind. So when our mind is purified, the entire cosmology is purified. So when the entire cosmology is purified, the divine beings are happy. So in order to gain the blessing from the monks, from the divine beings, as we believe in our Khmer tradition, so you have to cultivate divine qualities. So in Khmer, in Pali, we call it Satya, Sal, Chakya, and so on, Hera. So these kinds of divine qualities must be cultivated, must be practiced. So without faithfulness to the Buddha, you won't be able to perform all the rituals during the New Year. So and in order to gain the blessing from the divine beings or New Year angel, you must be equipped of these qualities. So that is why this uniqueness of Khmer New Year from other culture. So we try to connect, because our ancestors know it very well that the mentality, the cosmology, and divine being are interconnected. So that is why everything is arranged in order to gain the blessing according to the Buddhism, according to the astrology, according to the tribal belief system. So what I want to say, this is we must practice it meaningfully in order to gain the real blessing. So that's all.
What is the lesson learned from Khmer New Year? If you could wrap up some of the lesson we can learn from Khmer New Year, like the takeaway message for our people.
Okay, well, let me just add to what I have mentioned. When we stay away from the wholesomeness or the goodness, like practicing generosity, respecting the elders, and so on, we will be inflicted. This is what I can say. So what we have learned is Khmer New Year is a chance for us to change the way we live in order to stay healthy. So according to Buddhist perspective, COVID-19 is the result of the way we live, is the result of our lifestyle. So during Khmer New Year, as I told you, we purify everything mentally, physically. This is the lesson we can learn in order to interact the good qualities of Khmer New Year into our life, in order to fight with COVID-19.
Thank you so much, Pandey. I think it's time is up, and I'm sorry for Sister Jenny also busy with her child, so we would end up our discussion right now. And I'm sorry for taking much of this time. Of course, we have a lot of questions to ask, but we don't have any more time. So thank you so much for all honorable monks for allowing us this opportunity to engage with the dialogue, so that we can share with our younger generation to get better understanding about what Khmer New Year is, how they celebrate it, and what the benefit and moral lesson that we can learn from the Khmer New Year. And finally, I would like to accumulate merit done through this Dhamma Dana, the gift of Dhamma to everybody. May all beings be liberated from physical suffering and mental suffering. Happy Khmer New Year to the world.